What's going on, guys? Big Mike, the 717 Outlaw Bagger here today. Finally getting back to the videos. It's been really crazy here around the holidays with overtime, spending time with family, and tell you the truth, Mother Nature has not been on my side for doing any kind of riding videos and things like that. But we are waiting on parts for the Busa. We have a couple other things coming for the Harley, and well, Harley's not here yet. And we have been setting up shop here in the garage. We got the scooter, we got the quads, I got the lift, wheel chocks, my bike stands, all that. We're starting to set up shop here for the build this winter, and we're going to be starting doing maintenance. I have a couple bikes lined up to be coming in here for service, and we're going to be doing videos on them, show you guys a couple ins and outs and ways to maintain your bikes, and it might be very specific to a vehicle that you have depending on what comes in. But we're going to get into this video since winterization has been kind of delayed here in PA because the weather's been warmer than usual, and there are still people getting out with their ATVs, dirt bikes, motorcycles. People are still getting out and doing that, so I haven't really stored mine yet for the winter. But I got 5 easy tips, help you guys maintain your vehicles in the off season and make it easier so you can jump on it in the spring and take off. All right, guys, let's get into this. We're going to start from the outside and work our way in. Big one for storing. Depending on where you put it, if you put it in a garage like this that's climate controlled, you can kind of be a little bit more lenient. If you're putting it outside under a tarp or under a cover, maybe in a garage or a shed that might not be the most weather suited, biggest thing you can do is clean your vehicle. Now the Honda, she needs a little bit of TLC. I should have taken the cover off the seat and actually really cleaned up everything under the frame, cleaned up the motor a little bit more. But the R6 has been sitting here nice and pretty. She has always been nice and clean. Biggest reason too that I like cleaning is, one, it protects your paint since you won't necessarily be messing with it in the off season. But the other thing that helps you out too for any issues that may come up is if you clean it spick and span top to bottom, clean the engine, clean as much as you possibly can. It can help you find any leaks, any things like that that might develop when you're in storage. It'd be better to find out before the season starts than when the season starts and you end up hurting your quad, dirt bike, motorcycle, whatever you may have. So my one thing, cleaning. Make sure that you clean it before you put it away. It can help you in the long run and it can save your paint. All right, now the other one, the quads are a little lenient on it because I do move these around a bit frequently, but the other one too is if you have a vehicle that's going to be sitting in one spot for a long period of time, try to get the weight off the tires. Invest in a good set of stands for a street bike because it's more common in a street bike tire, I've noticed, than an all-terrain knobby tire, is you'll get flat spots. If you get the weight off your tires and it's going to be sitting for a little bit, it helps with flat spotting, which can cause uneven wear and kind of damage to your tire if it sits long enough, especially if it sits somewhere where moisture is very prevalent, because it can almost jumpstart a dry rotting type phase. So if you can, get the weight off your tires. It can help save your tires for next season, especially if, for whatever reason, you replace your tires before the next season if you find a good Christmas deal, which is common to happen. Get the weight off it. That way your tires are good to go next season. Next thing you're going to do is lubricate moving parts. You have your clutch, your clutch, your brake. If it's cable, which most of these are hydraulic besides the clutch, go ahead and lubricate your cables. Another one that I found out that I learned through a couple of friends, if you can lubricate your key ignition, it can help so that mechanism doesn't get moisture and lock up on you. Lube your chains. If you have grease fittings on your vehicle, go ahead and grease everything. Make sure that all moving parts are lubricated so that way they do not seize up in the off season if you're not going to be messing with them. If you're moving them around here and there, you don't have to be as heavy on the grease and lubrication, but just give it a nice coat. That way it'll hold up over the off season and you won't have any risk of corrosion and things like that. Big one too, do not be stupid and try to be like, oh, well, I'm going to keep rust from getting on my rotor if it's going to sit in a moisture heavy area. Do not spray lubricant like WD-40 or like a chain lube. Do not spray that on your rotor. It's going to destroy your brakes because you're going to go out and ride your motorcycle, your ATV, you're going to go hit the brakes. You're not going to have any because that lube is not going to let your brakes work. But go ahead and do that. Lubricate all moving parts. That will help things be freed up so next season, get on a ride. This is another one that really helps you out. If you're going to keep your battery on the vehicle, go ahead and get a quick connect. Most battery tenders come with a quick connect for your battery so that way you can put it on a trickle charger. Put it on a trickle charger, Best case scenario, if you're not putting it in a climate controlled area, is pull the battery out, put it on a trickle charger. Best one you can get, which I've been using, my pap and us have been using battery tenders for a while. I use this one here I picked up at Cycle Gear. It's just a little 3 amp battery tender, has a quick connect, has the alligator clips if you don't have the quick connect hookup on your vehicle. But preferably take your battery off, put it in a climate controlled area, hook it up to a trickle charger maybe once a month or every other week, just to kind of keep the voltage up and everything so the battery stays good. If you keep it on the four-wheeler or keep it on your motorcycle, go ahead and start your vehicle every other week. Get the charging system going, or at least try to ride it if it's possible. But maintaining your battery will save you, because the battery I have on this and that, lithium batteries, they're about 140 bucks. Try to maintain those as much as you can, because then it saves you from paying for a new one come spring. So a couple different things here. If you have motorcycles, typically they are steel tanks. What you can do for saving your fuel system, whether it's carbureted, fuel injected, things like that, save your fuel lines, is if it's a steel tank, one, either go out and get ethanol free fuel. Usually they're like 90, 91 octane or better, depending on where you're at. Go ahead and get that, put that in your tank, fill it. If you don't have ethanol free, go ahead and get a fuel stabilizer like Sta-Bil, something like that. Put in your tank, fill up your tank, run the system so the Sta-Bil gets through your fuel lines, gets to your injectors, gets in your carb. It prevents any type of corrosion, things like that in your fuel system. But the big thing with filling a steel tank is it doesn't give it any room for moisture or condensation to allow rust to develop in the tank. That's going to save you in the long run. If you get rust in your tank, it's going to clog your fuel lines, going to clog your carbs, clog your injectors. It's going to cause a lot more problems than just putting $20 worth of gas in it and saving yourself in the long run. Plastic tanks typically don't get as much condensation, but go ahead and do the same thing for an ATV, a dirt bike. Put some ethanol free fuel in it if you can. If not, high test with some Sta-Bil. Run it through the system, make sure it gets through your fuel lines into the carb. You might not be able to tell when it hits. It's not like the bike's going to smoke or anything like that. It's not like an oil. But just try to run it. If you run the tank empty, go ahead, put some Sta-Bil in it, put your gas in it so it mix, and then just go ahead and run your system. It'll help you with cleaning your fuel lines and making them not get corroded and built up in the off season when there's no fluids pumping through. Guys, finally, last but not least, it's fluids. Go ahead, if you have been riding your vehicle hard over the summer into the fall, go ahead, do a fresh oil change if you can. If you have something that's liquid cooled like the R6, go ahead and do a coolant flush, do fresh oil change, do new filters. If you really want to go above and beyond, go ahead and bleed your brakes, bleed your clutches, things like that. Get fresh fluid in the system. That way, if there's any kind of corrosion or dirt inside those fluids, it doesn't hurt your motor, doesn't hurt your clutch, doesn't hurt your brake, doesn't hurt anything. It's really when you put fresh fluids in it, especially if you're going to be storing it in cold, make sure you do antifreeze if you're doing any kind of coolant. That way nothing freezes up and cracks a block, cracks a radiator, things like that. But go ahead and do a full fluid flush. Do fresh oil, coolant, brake fluid, clutch fluid, hell, hydraulic fluid if you have something that has a hydraulic system for whatever reason. Do fluids. And that's pretty much it, guys. I thought I was doing 5 tips, but I ended up doing 6. So we have clean your vehicle top to bottom, get the weight off the tires if possible. It's not a very big thing, but it does help save the longevity of your tires. Lubricate every moving part possible, cables, chain, sprockets, anything that you can possibly lubricate outside the bike. Do not, like I said, do not spray anything on your rotors or your brakes. You're going to ruin them for next season. Grease anything that you can if you have grease fittings on anything. Do battery tender. Try to maintain your battery, especially if you have lithium, if you have a lead acid battery. Do what you can to store it properly and put it on a trickle charger or some kind of battery tender. That way it maintains the voltage and the batteries like new come next season. Oils or fluids. Check your fluids. redo everything, basically do a tune-up before you put it away for the season. If you can, because I've seen a couple guys do it to prevent any rust in your motor. If you know anybody that can do a fogger system, which basically almost like sprays oil in the motor and helps keep the cylinder walls lubricated, so that way come next season, if the vehicle has been sitting long enough, there's no rust in your cylinders. And then, of course, your fuel. Ethanol free is the way to go if you can get it, because I know there's only like 2 stations around me that actually have ethanol free fuel. Or high test with a stabilizer. Do that. Everything will be good. It'll keep your fuel system clean and corrosion free. Keep your fuel tank from getting any kind of corrosion in it. Make sure that you fill steel tanks so that way they don't get rust in it, and that'll cause problems later down the road. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are pretty much my 6 tips that I've done, and I've been able to maintain everything for years to come. And yeah. All right, guys, as always, I hope you liked the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. I know it's not the most eventful video that we've done, but it's something that'll help you guys out, especially with it getting into the winter season. And the build's going to commence. We're waiting on parts for the Busa. We do got some stuff we're looking into for the R6. We're going to be doing a tune-up on the 400. We do have customer bikes that are going to be coming in here, a couple guys that need maintenance done, things like that, and we're going to go over those. And that's about it. I'm still working on setting up shop. Got a few things that I have to get through. I got a toolbox that I got off a buddy of mine from his dad, so I'm going through that, setting up tools and things like that. And we're hopefully, though, too, getting a new lift. I want to get rid of this and get a second lift. I'm going to end up going with a different manufacturer for that. But we're setting up shop, getting ready for the off season. All right, guys, like I said, drop a like, drop a comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next. Remember, ride safe, ride smart, always wear your helmet. See ya.